Left-wing teachers are invading our schools and parents are fighting back. Jen Psaki plays the gender card regarding Texas's new pro-life law, plus a staggering number of illegal alien children have just disappeared. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
Okay, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Friday. I hope you had a great week. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We have a big Friday show. It's Friday, so you get bonus coverage today. And we're going to start with the crisis in education, because we are seeing more and more examples of classrooms being turned into indoctrination zones. Anti-American programs, such as the 1619 Project, are being pushed onto our kids. Elements of critical race theory are being taught. Teachers are pushing the transgender agenda and other topics that are designed to divide, segregate, and build a sense that America is a bad, evil country. None of this has anything to do with making sure students can actually read, write, do math, and understand and appreciate that America is the greatest country in the world. Two recent examples dramatically show how off the rails education has gone. First, there's a follow-up on left-wing teacher Kristin Pitzen. Recall that this teacher, she's the one who posted a video on TikTok bragging that she removed the American flag from her classroom.
Okay, so during third period, we have announcements and they do the Pledge of Allegiance. I always tell my class, stand if you feel like it, don't stand if you feel like it, say the words if you want, don't have to say the words. So my class decided to stand but not say the words. Totally fine. Except for the fact that my room does not have a flag. It used to be there, but I took it down during COVID because it made me uncomfortable. And I packed it away and I don't know where, and I haven't found it yet.
There is so much wrong with this, and I don't even know where to start. First of all, much of what is wrong with this country now is because of the fact that we don't teach and support the American culture, the American way of life. Stand if you want to stand. Don't stand if you want. Say something. Don't say something. Wrong. There are things that should unite all Americans, and this is one of them. And then the fact that the American flag makes her uncomfortable, I would not hire any teacher who is uncomfortable with the American flag. Period. But that's not all. Here's more of the video.
My kid today goes, hey, it's kind of weird that we just stand and then, we say it to nothing. And I'm like, oh, well, I gotta find it. Like, I'm working on it. I got you. In the meantime, I tell this kid, we do have a flag in the class that you can pledge your allegiance to. And he looks around, he goes, oh, that one?
Unbelievable. And now you see why so many parents are speaking out at school board meetings. They are shocked when they see some of the assignments that are being sent home. They're outraged by teachers such as that one who wants students to pledge allegiance to the pride flag. Well, this teacher has now been placed on leave and removed from the classroom. And here's the story. We are aware that one of our teachers posted a video on their personal social media that caused alarm and concern related to saluting the American flag, said Annette Franco, spokeswoman for the Newport Mesa Unified School District in Orange County, California. The teacher is no longer in the classroom. Showing respect for our nation's flag is an important value that we instill in our students and an expectation of our employees, Ms. Franco said. We follow due process and our investigation continues. So this teacher is out of the classroom, but she's just the tip of the iceberg. Another teacher, also in California, was shown through an undercover Project Veritas video to be pushing pro-Antifa, pro-communism ideology on his students.
I like what you said in our phone call. I feel like I have 180 days, right?
Yeah. I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
And that's the question.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are indifferent. I think they're distracted by the gadgets and video games. How do you do that? How do you...
Scared out of them.
Yeah.
Meet Gabriel Gipe. He's a public school teacher paid for by taxpayer dollars at Inderkum High School in Sacramento, California. Gipe, who teaches advanced placement government classes, is not shy about his involvement in Antifa's local chapter. He even has an Antifa flag and a poster of Mao Zedong in his classroom.
This is unreal. This guy says he has 180 days to turn his students into revolutionaries. Again, this is a public school teacher. Taxpayer funds are being used to pay this guy while he works to indoctrinate children. The video goes in depth into the activities of this teacher and his left-wing beliefs and practices. It also shows how he's taking those beliefs into the classroom.
I know other people in my department who teach like 10th graders who've had like parent meetings, like some, a student who complained about like a pride flag and said that they felt uncomfortable. I've had students, during anonymous surveys at the end of the year, comment about the things that I have in my classroom. Like I have an Antifa flag on my wall, and a student complained about that, and he said it made him feel uncomfortable. And I addressed it to everyone because I didn't know who it was, and I was like, well, this is meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable. So if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to tell you. Like, maybe you shouldn't be aligning with the values that this is antithetical to.
Yep, this is a teacher in America. Fortunately, this teacher, because of this undercover video, has also been removed from the classroom and is in the process of being fired. Parents this week flooded the school board meeting and let loose their anger on the school board, and this is what it's going to take. The left will keep pushing and pushing and pushing until we push back. Socialism and communism have no place in America, and teachers such as these have no business in our classrooms. Okay, so next let's talk about White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, but first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, regardless of platform, just search out my name, hit that subscribe button, make sure notifications are turned on, that way you can follow the show and help us grow. Okay, so next is White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who's taking heat for playing the gender card at Thursday's press briefing. The left-wing media and Democrats are in an absolute panic over Texas's new heartbeat law, which prohibits abortion after about 6 weeks. The Supreme Court refused to immediately block the law, so now those on the left are freaking out. Joe Biden, who the media love to describe as a devout Catholic, has launched what he calls a whole-of-government effort to fight Texas' pro-life law. And just as an aside, as someone who is Catholic and is currently working on a theology degree, it burns me up when the left-wing media promote Joe Biden as some kind of beacon of Christianity simply because he says he is. He does not believe in protecting innocent human life. He is in favor of forcing doctors to perform transgender surgeries against their religious beliefs. And now he's going after the Texas law with statements that show just how fringe he is. The president criticized the Supreme Court for choosing not to rule immediately to block the Texas law, calling it an unprecedented assault on a woman's constitutional rights. Rather than use its supreme authority to ensure justice could be fairly sought, the highest court of our land will allow millions of women in Texas in need of critical reproductive care to suffer while courts sift through the procedural complexities, Biden said. This is just disgusting. Abortion is not health care. There are hardly any abortions performed to save the life of the mother. That's just a statistical fact. And yet, Biden refers to abortion as critical reproductive care. There's nothing critical about ending a human life for the sake of convenience. There's nothing reproductive about not bringing that child to term. And there's no care involved when a precious human life is ended. That's Joe Biden. But then Jen Psaki was asked during the briefing about Biden's remarks, and here's that exchange.
Following up on the Texas law, why does the president support abortion when his own Catholic faith teaches abortion is morally wrong?
Well, he believes that it's a woman's right, it's a woman's body, and it's her choice.
Why does the president, who does he believe then should look out for the unborn child?
He believes that it's up to a woman to make those decisions, and up to a woman to make those decisions with her doctor. I know you've never faced those choices, nor have you ever been pregnant, but for women out there who have faced those choices, this is an incredibly difficult thing. The president believes their rights should be respected. Go ahead. I think we got to move on. I think we have to move on. You've had plenty of time.
So once again, as we've seen so many times, Psaki completely ignores the fact that there is another body involved, that there is another person involved, a person who has a fundamental right to life. Then Psaki plays the gender card on this reporter. By Psaki's standards, that means Joe Biden shouldn't talk about this issue either. but the left kind of ignore the gender deal if the person is on the side of abortion on demand. Psaki received a ton of reaction to her sexist comment, and rightfully so. People of all walks of life can discuss issues. Some may be more familiar with the issue than others, but we see this tactic more and more often from the left, that unless you fall in exactly a particular category, you're not even allowed to discuss the issue. Well, none of us have been slaves, but we can certainly discuss slavery. Here's one person's reply to Psaki. I've been pregnant, press secretary, and it's still not my right or anyone else's to kill a baby. Being a woman or being pregnant does not give you license to kill. Women deserve better than abortion. The president's position is illogical, unscientific, immoral, and 40 years wrong. Great response, and it just shows how off-base Psaki is. When abortion was legalized, it was from a Supreme Court ruling of all men. I wonder if she would have criticized them too. The left just wants to shut down any voice that differs from their agenda. If they can use racism or sexism to do it, they will certainly play those cards. All right, so next let's talk about the disappearing illegal alien children who have come into the country under Joe Biden's watch. Many have just vanished. The Biden administration is supposed to keep track of all the illegal aliens that they just release into the country. Yet many of the illegal alien children that were supposedly released to relatives or sponsors are unaccounted for. And here's the story. The U.S. government has reportedly lost touch with thousands of illegal migrant children whom they released from custody. According to data obtained by Axios via a Freedom of Information Act request, roughly 1 in 3 calls made to migrant children who had been released to their sponsors between January and May went unanswered, suggesting the United States is not adequately protecting those children from harm. This is very dismaying, Mark Greenberg, a former Obama administration official, told Axios about the data. If large numbers of children and sponsors aren't being reached, there's a very big gap in efforts to help them. Yes, there is a big gap, and it shows yet again why our immigration system is so broken. It is also purposely being flooded because of the policies of Joe Biden and the left. People are just being released into the country. Hey, you came here illegally? We're just going to let you go. But make sure and come back for that court date. In regard to the children, contact is supposed to be maintained so that their welfare can be verified. But not only is the Biden administration not able to reach many of these children, the overall effort of the Biden team is pathetic. Here's more. Care providers made 14,600 calls to check in with minors released from Department of Health and Human Services shelters and taken in by relatives and vetted sponsors. Workers were unable to reach 4,890 of those migrants or their sponsors. The percentage of calls that went unanswered jumped from 26% in January to 37% in May. The data also showed that the government is not making as many calls as it should. 32,000 children were released into the United States from HHS shelters, but the government placed fewer than 15,000 follow-up calls. This is just crazy. Illegal aliens are flooding into the country. There's been over 1 million illegal immigrant encounters at our southern border just this year. Over 1 million. And the Biden administration has no clue what happens to these people once the government turns them loose. As far as the children are concerned, as the story points out, back in 2018, former President Trump was blasted in the media because 1,500 migrant children had whereabouts unknown. Now, over 3 times as many children just this year are unreachable, and no one is saying a word. This just shows how little Joe Biden and others care about what is going on at the southern border. All they see are more potential Democrat voters, and the left will do everything it can to get more illegal aliens into the country and distribute it around America. Okay, so we've had radical left-wing teachers, Jen Psaki and Joe Biden, and disastrous policies at the border. We need to ask these leftists, do you have a relaxed brain?
I got what you call a relaxed brain.
So let me ask you a few questions. Are you a perfectionist? When working on tasks, do you sometimes feel a sense of urgency? Well, if you do, then according to Colorado University Boulder, you could be, no, not an overachiever. The university says that if you possess those traits, you could be a racist. That's right. Characteristics such as being a perfectionist or having a sense of urgency are indicative of white supremacy. Here's the story. Faculty and graduate students at Colorado University Boulder were recently encouraged to reject neoliberal concepts of time, as well as to avoid cultural norms of white supremacy, like sense of urgency and individualism in their classrooms. The university's Equitable Teaching Conference, hosted by the university's Center for Teaching and Learning, convened instructors and graduate students for virtual sessions on how to use equity-minded practices in the classroom. Presentation slides obtained by Campus Reform reveal details of a session titled Anti-Racist Pedagogy and Decolonializing the Classroom, taught by Dr. Becca Ciancanelli. One of the slides lists perfectionism, sense of urgency, quantity over quality, and individualism as cultural norms of white supremacy. What can you even say to all that? It's just another example of indoctrination and this push by the woke radical left to make everything about race. And then there's conservative activist Candace Owens, who was denied a test for COVID-19 because the healthcare worker deemed Owens too political. That's right, the healthcare professional denied Owens a healthcare service based on politics. Here's the story. Owens tweeted about the flap, calling out the Aspen, Colorado facility for political bias. The tweet showed an email from testing facility owner Susanna Lee writing that she was going to refuse this booking and deny service because she claimed Owens has worked to make this pandemic worse by spreading misinformation, politicizing, and discouraging the wearing of masks and actively dissuading people from receiving life-saving vaccinations. Owens responded to Lee's denial, calling it the most hilarious email she has ever received in her life. Nothing screams, "This virus isn't political," quite like Googling the names of the people who book tests with you and determining on a case-by-case basis whether or not you will let them comply with your community COVID measures, Owens' email response to Lee read. What can you say? A healthcare worker who won't provide healthcare, all based on politics. And then we have some breaking headlines from the Babylon Bee. First, regarding reports of Joe Biden checking his watch during the dignified transfer of fallen service members, we have this. Report: Biden wasn't checking watch, just making sure there was no blood left on his hands. And then there's the fallout from the new pro-life legislation coming out of Texas. Abortion is only 3% of what we do, says soon-to-be laid-off Texas Planned Parenthood worker. That's a good one. That's right. If Planned Parenthood is truly focused on women's health care like they say they are, then the Texas law shouldn't affect them at all, right? All right, friends, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. But before you go, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, regardless of platform, just search out my name, hit that subscribe button, make sure notifications are turned on. That way you can follow the show and help us grow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our next show is going to be tomorrow with our Saturday live stream at 11 a.m. Central Time on my channel. Our special guest will be longtime host and correspondent at CNBC, Fox News, and now Newsmax, Bob Sellers. Please tune in, and I'll see you on Saturday. Until then, I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.